Hey everybody, welcome to week 2. Here's a quick look ahead at the leans I'm considering for the games tomorrow. But before we do that, I wanted to do a very high level recap of the games I played last week. You can see overall I went 2 and 2 plus 0.8 units, kind of a meh week. I did hit my 1-2 unit play of the week by half a point, but I'll take it. And both of my losses were both pretty ugly losses. The Dolphins just turned out to be really as bad as everyone was saying they were going to be. I kind of played into the fact that I thought going into Miami in September, dealing with that weather, might give us the opportunity for a competitive game, maybe even a backdoor cover. Didn't happen. And then the Broncos play last week. I placed that bet on Friday when a lot of the AB drama was starting to go down. Going into that game, I liked the Broncos. I felt like they were a bit of an underrated team, and I felt like Oakland was maybe getting a little bit too much love from the public because of a lot of the offseason hype. But I can tell you this, I placed this bet on Friday, and by the time we were going into that game Monday night, I hated the bet. I was obviously committed to it, I couldn't pull it back, but you just knew that Oakland was going to be coming into that game with an us versus the world mentality at home, excited crowd, final Monday night game in Oakland, and it was a loss that I deserved to take. So with that being said, let's take a look at the games I'm considering to play tomorrow. A little context for you guys. What I like to do is I like to fade the public in a thoughtful way. That's really the foundation of how I bet. Now, I'm not dogmatic about it. Just because the public is leaning really heavy in one way, I'm not going to automatically bet the other. But I'm most comfortable making what I think are smart plays when the public is really heavy on one side. So that's not every play that I'll make, but that's just kind of my starting point to give you guys a little perspective. Now, one of the biggest challenges to fading the public is that it's really difficult to get a significant amount of data so you really understand where all of the people are betting. It's just all of sports gambling data is very, very fragmented. So what I do is I have a couple of sources. I like to use wagerline.com, covers.com as sort of like my main source. And then what I like to do is sort of dovetail that with William Hill. And if you follow William Hill on Twitter, they typically publish these, what kind of action they're getting on every side throughout the week, for college, for NFL, and everything else. So those are my two main sources. And then I'll look at some other stuff. And again, I don't use these sources as gospel. I just really use them as directional, and I combine that with my knowledge of the NFL to make plays that I feel good about. So that being said, let's jump into where I'm leaning right now. The first game I want to call out is right here. Tennessee minus 3.5 hosting the Colts. I'll tell you guys, when I first looked at the lines this week, this was my favorite play. I loved the Colts as the underdog in this game. That being said, I've kind of come off of it a little bit. It's probably went from my favorite play to about my third favorite play of the week. And the reason is that when you consider the Colts are playing their second game in a row on the road, and they're coming off an overtime loss on the West Coast last week, that does give me a little pause. Now, the reason I like it is that, A, you can see there seems to be a fair amount of action on Tennessee, and then when you dovetail that with William Hill right here, you're getting the same. And also the fact that they had a very high-profile win over the paper champions of the offseason, the Cleveland Browns. I do think there's a little bit too much recency bias going towards the Titans. Hence, I would like to play the Colts, but it's probably going to be a bit of a game time decision for me tomorrow if I'm actually going to make that bet. So that being said, let's go to the two games that I really love. So right now, my favorite play of the week is right up here. I really like Pittsburgh minus 3.5. And the reason is I think there's a huge amount of recency bias fading the fading the Steelers after they lost a very embarrassing game to the Patriots in prime time last week. I love to fade good teams who come off embarrassing losses in prime time. And the other thing we have going for us here is that Big Ben and the Steelers, they typically tend to do this. They typically tend to come off of very embarrassing losses with very strong performances. We've seen that pattern pretty consistently over the years. And then the last thing that gives me a lot of confidence in this one is that you have the Seahawks coming into the East Coast and playing an early game on Sunday. So I'll definitely be playing this one. Probably going to be a 3-unit play for me, which is my max play, but we'll see tomorrow. And then the other game that I really like is down here. We have a home dog in primetime on Sunday night in Atlanta at +2. And then the other thing we have going for us here is there's a huge amount of recency bias on both sides of the ball, I think. I think people are just a little too high on Philadelphia. Now, I think Philadelphia is a very good team, but I think people are a little too excited about them after their very flashy win last week over a pretty questionable team in the Redskins. And then also Atlanta looked very bad last week playing what I think is kind of an underrated team in the Vikings up in Minnesota. So I think the fact that you've got a little bit more public going this way, again, look at the Eagles here. The public really seems to be all over them per the actual betting data of William Hill. And I feel very good about playing the Falcons +2 on Sunday night. That's going to be either a 3 or 2 unit play for me as well. So those are probably my 3 favorite plays of the week. And I've got 3 other games that I'm considering. The first one is right here. It's the Jets +6.5. It's another home dog in prime time, which I like. You can kind of see per wager line, over 60% of the action is going towards the Browns. And then look at over here. Look at all the action on the Browns over here at William Hill. To me, this is just a recipe of everyone is going to be trying to make up their losses from the day before, and they're going to be hammering the Browns in Monday night. And I could see the Jets just getting a really weird cover with their backup quarterback. Another game I'm considering is right here, which is the Washington Redskins +6. And the Redskins are not a great team, and I think Dallas is a very good team. But what has really piqued my interest in this game is the reverse line movement. So you can see there's a ton of action on Dallas, 72% on wager line. Take a look here, 90 and 83% so far as of Saturday morning on William Hill. Yet Washington's being pushed down from a +7 to +6. Now again, I won't dogmatically bet reverse line movement, but when I see something like this, it really makes me interested. So I could see myself putting a 1 unit play on this tomorrow. And then the other game that I'm interested is down here. It's the Broncos +2.5 against the Bears. Again, I think anybody who wasn't an absolutely elite team in the NFL would have probably gone into Oakland and lost that game Monday night. And so I think the fact that Denver lost in kind of embarrassing fashion, I think they're getting a little too aggressively dinged by the public. Here you can see the line has been pushed through the number from -1 to +2.5. Over 60% on wager line are betting the Bears. And then if you look over here, per William Hill, you have high percentages hammering the Bears. So I still think Denver's a pretty good team. I think they have a very solid defense. I think that running game's going to get on track. And I think Flacco's a better quarterback than people give him credit for. And I think they're going to cover this number. I'm still not sure if I'm going to bet it, but I'm considering it. All right, those are my leans for week 2. Good luck to everybody tomorrow.